New data reveals the number of bankruptcies among family farms is on the rise, especially here in the Midwest. WGM's Robbie Tucker spoke with a tri-state farmer to learn more about the challenges they face.
After growing up on a farm and operating his own, Brian Stevens knows how hard a career in agriculture can be. But data from the American Farm Bureau Federation reveals for an increasing number of farmers, things are becoming unmanageable. Chapter 12 bankruptcies, which include family farmers, grew 46% nationwide and 70% in the Midwest. In Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois, numbers have swelled by 220, 167, and 55%, respectively. When you hear those numbers, as a farmer, what kind of goes through your head when you just hear how much those are increasing?
It's troublesome. It really is. It's a worry that we're losing agricultural professionals in the industry.
Total farm debt in the U.S. is projected to surpass $620 billion in 2026. Many say rising operating costs and declining revenue are to blame.
Everything that we buy, fuel, fertilizer, chemicals, equipment, it's just higher.
Stevens believes reopening or expanding trade agreements with China, Canada, and Mexico would jumpstart demand and in turn help farmers.
More government payments, well, those don't help anything. They're not a fix to anything. They're a temporary Band-Aid. We need trade, not aid.
In the meantime, he says farmers should contract ahead for better prices and try to fix old equipment instead of buying new when possible. In Quincy, Robbie Tucker, WGEM News.
Stevens also says financial stress is a major factor in anxiety and stress among farmers, who are statistically more likely to die by suicide. For mental health resources and hotlines, you can visit our website at WGEM.com.